welcome back to Kingsclear. This is the May update. I'm just going to show you the progress that we've been doing. As you can see, quite a bit's been happening to the scenery in the background. I'll go into a little bit more detail on that in a minute, but just give you a bit of an overview. But today, in this update, we'll go back and look at how I constructed this scenery area. We'll also have a look at the rail cleaning wagons and also some of the works we've done to the signalling. Just going on to the scenery now. As I say, this is a finished product. So as you can see, we've got animals now in, bit of plant life, brambles, areas where the chalks come through, even a tree. So this isn't finished yet. It's a better stage than it was, but we still need some work to do. This middle section needs some work doing to it. We've also got some animals, obviously the donkeys there. Don't know if you can just make those out. There's some rabbits, and you can see their sets, or whatever they call, burrows or whatever they're called. And then you've got the sheeps, a couple of foxes up there, and there's a ram protecting his flock from those foxes. This area here obviously is not got the wire on at the moment for the fence, purely because we've got that earthquake crack which we still need to fill once we fix obviously these to their position. Speaker in the background, which will be on one of the videos in a minute. And then we move on to this other section. You got the bull, and again rabbits by their burrows. As you can see, we've got some foxgloves coming up as well, which are quite nice. They're made by my friend. And then we've got the cutting going all the way up to the overbridges. So what we'll do now is we'll go back in time and we will see the process of getting from, in effect, nothing to where we are today. Hope you enjoy. So the process of putting this bandage material on, which is also known as mod rock as well, very simple. Cut this to the length that you're after. In this case, I've cut it short because I've got to obviously be a bit more careful when I work around this parapet at this end, and just apply this to warm water. Now, to be honest with you, it was warm when it came up in the loft. It's quite cold up here at the moment, so this is now pretty much lukewarm. So it doesn't really matter whether or not it needs to be like boiling hot, but it is better if it is warmer. Anyway, give that a couple of minutes and then we'll apply that. Okay, so that's been a couple of minutes. One thing I forgot to mention is that this particular section, this is the third layer, so there's already 2 layers, and it's literally as simple as that. Just line it up, try and get your edges. Always best to get the top edge, I find. And once you're happy with the edge, then it's just a case of rubbing it down. So the longer you keep it in that water, you'll find the easier it is to rub that plaster all into the various holes which you'll notice that have been left behind. And if you need to move it, it's quite easy. You can move that, as you see there. Just realign that up onto the top, put it down. And as you can see, that's going down really quite nice now. Always keep a little bit of moisture or wetness on your hand. That helps the whole moving the plaster material around. As I said, there's a little hole here, or a little inset groove, whatever you want to call it. There'll be some location cabinets and potentially the multi-aspect signaling, which I might put on maybe in a dummy form or not, I'm not too sure. But the idea is obviously trying to smooth out the plaster so you can't see any of the little holes in the gauze. If you do have some, it's not the end of the earth, because obviously we'll go over with the sculptor mold and that will clear up all of those small holes. But I'm not too sure whether you can see on the camera, but you've already got quite a lot of undulation from the foam material, and then obviously us applying these 3 layers, So as you can see, I know it's very difficult because it's white and stuff like that, but it is very much coming into a natural type of situation where it's not dead flat. There's a little bit of undulation which you would normally get. So this is now going to dry. As you can see, the other one over there, that's already had its third layer and it looks pretty good. So most probably I'm just going to leave it with 3 layers. And the next thing, once all of this is dry, we'll apply the sculptor mold. Okay, so this has now had 48 hours of drying time. We've got 3 layers here. You might be able to pick out that you can still see some gaps and holes in there, but to be honest, the majority of it is actually quite smooth. There's a little bit in that area, but as I say, the sculptor mold will pick all that up now. So what we'll do now is we'll go ahead and mix the sculptor mold and then we'll apply it. Okay, so all we've got is 2 parts of sculptor mold to 1 part of water, and then it's a very enjoyable process of just mixing it up, getting it to the consistency that you're happy with. And it is quite cold up here, so you might see the steam coming off here because I have used hot water, and it is actually quite nice because it is a bit cold up here at the moment. Okay, so that's the first of the sections done. This stuff does go off really quite quick because that actually is quite dry now, or not actually dry but quite firm to the touch, so you do need to work this stuff quite quickly. Hopefully you can see that obviously this bit's dry, this bit I've just put on is quite wet, so just smoothing your hand over it alleviates some of those bumps, but there's enough bits and pieces in there to really break up that surface so it's not a flat surface. So one thing I have found as well, it's really important that when you do this, because you've got more than one section, is that when you tie the 2 sections together like we've done on the other sections, is you haven't got massive variations. So that's what I'm going to do now, and I'll start on the next section and allow this one to dry. But to be honest with you, this is like, that's pretty dry as it is anyway. Okay. So the sculptor mold is fully cured. Gave it quite a while, 4 or 5 days. I'm sure that you didn't want to see us painting this, so I'll just show you the final product. As you can see, there's a bit of variation within the browns, slightly darker, slightly lighter. Using this product, I've got this from Amazon, and there's quite a lot of it, so say it will go quite a way. But basically, you're just using various different amounts of those 2 various paints to give the base coat. This is still wet, so obviously needs to dry off now, and that in effect completes that process. So as you can see now, we've completed all the painting, and I've given it a light dusting with the spray just to take that sheen off of it and also break up the different browns. Obviously we can see that it's quite shiny still with the overhead lights, but that will tone down once we place the grass materials, etc. on top. Now with the base colours painted, it's just a case of applying the base turf and soil materials. Personally, I use the woodland scene materials, which are blended turf there, and then you've got the fine turf there, which gives that undertone of dark. And all I do is literally just paste on some PVA, sprinkle this on, a little bit of ibuprofen alcohol on top of that to break the bond, and then obviously just run over a little bit of scenic cement or PVA watered down. It's entirely up to you. So in effect, that's the base layer done. So some areas, as you'll see in a minute, will just remain as such, just the base layer, and there'll be some tufts of grass here and there. But as you get further down, obviously right down that far corner, you can see the dark area where the trees are going to be. There will be some other static grass in that area, which is what I'll do next. Okay, moving on to the corner section now. So we have the fence between the field where the sheep will be, and this area which will be the wooded area. Trees haven't been made yet, so that'll be another episode, but it will take quite a while. But the base colours are down, and at the front we have the GWR style 5-foot fence minus the wire, and that's purely because we've got the gap between this section and the other section, which will require filling and obviously all the vegetation put on there, the grasses, etc. So the whole point at the moment is just get this to a position where it's good to go. Also, as you can see, we have the speaker in, and you just glue that into position, hence the reason why it's still a bit wet there, but give it a sound. So as you can imagine, after a while that will get quite annoying. We've also got the signal box, the station, and the other countryside sound, which is in the pillbox. So having them all on together will get quite noisy, but from time to time to put that on to give some background noise would be quite interesting. Once that glue's dried off, I'll put some paint on there just to camouflage that down, but however all of it will be surrounded by weeds and bushes, and obviously the trees around it as well, so that should be nicely camouflaged away. I was actually going to dig that into the ground, but with the stuff that I did with the pillbox, I thought it's a lot easier to put it up there, and also if I decide to change it, to pop that off is a lot easier than to dig it out of the scenery. So yeah, so what I'm going to do now is just obviously finish off the vegetation in this area. Can't really do a great deal at the front here, but put some of the grass and weeds in there, maybe some weeds and grasses in this area, and then move on to the next section. But in regards to this speaker, and just going back to this speaker, the actual unit itself, which is this, which gives roughly 5 minutes of sound, which you can get off of the internet for free. I think that was around about £15 from Amazon, something like that. And then obviously not having to worry about resistors. I got one of these variable current devices where you can actually bring down the voltage to the voltage you require. It's just a bit of a cheap way of doing it, but it means you don't blow things up. But in regards of this this unit, there are lots of different ones of these on the market. Just plug that into your computer. There's lots of various websites on the internet which you can download from your computer onto that basic chip. All different sounds. As I say, we've got the signal box, we've got the station, and we've got the two different countryside ones as well. But we can actually, as I say, I'll put a block on there, so if I want to drop that off and put a different sound on there, you can do it. I just find it a lot easier, and to be honest, it's quite cheap when you think there are bespoke railway ones which can cost a lot more than, let's just say, £15 to £20 each. This is a good way of doing it, and to be honest, that speaker is what comes with it, so it's okay. It's not brilliant, but to be honest with you, it's background sound, and for the amount of times I actually use the sound with the signal box, the station, and the other countryside one, it's occasionally just to give a little bit of background. And maybe when I'm doing a full running session, I'll use it a bit more. But I think if you had all 4 of them going at once, it'll be quite noisy, and you wouldn't be able to hear yourself think. Anyway, so from now on, I'm just going to carry on, put some more weeds through here, similar to what I've been doing on the other sections. Then I've got the next section, which is over there waiting. Finish the fence off in there, and obviously the weeds and etc. The static grass on those. And then in effect, we've got these 2 more sections leading down to the overbridge. And again, I'm not going to do a great deal on these. That will in effect just be a little bit of weeds. And that's my German Shepherd barking downstairs, so I think he might want to go out. Okay, so with the base layer now down, as you can see, put the fence up and started on the foliage. Obviously, as you can imagine, it's all a bit wet at the moment, so just thought I'd give you this bit of a snapshot as we go. Some of the grass, static grass has been put on there, and the idea is obviously just to give you that undulation of a natural landscape. There's no point having it dead flat and the grass being perfect. You would never see a field with all the grass being the same colour. So it's just to make sure you break up little patches of weeds here and there, but you just do it to your satisfaction. Obviously a lot of brambles down here, and you can imagine obviously livestock trying to eat the brambles, so this side is quite clean because obviously they've eaten it all, and this side where they can't get to it, it's quite wild. This will obviously now dry over the next couple of hours, and will look a little bit different. And let's say it's never finished. Obviously the fence needs a little bit of work doing too, because it's a bit shiny because it's brand new, so we need to dull that down. But yeah, now for the next section. So this is a train you don't normally see running. This is our track cleaning train. Comprises of 3 wagons. The first one is just a standard box wagon, which I've cut the top off and, excuse fingers, placed underneath a track rubber. This is the rough side of the rubber in a shoe. As you can see, there's a spring in there which goes up into the actual wagon itself, and this wagon pretty much has got lead weight type of shot up to where that cut mark is. So it's a very heavy wagon, but it needs to be to obviously be able to stay on the track and apply the pressure. Next wagon is the CMX cleaning wagon. So as you can see, very heavy brass. It has the cleaning pad underneath, which in effect absorbs the liquid within the tank. Now there are various liquids, and what I use is Goo-Gone, Trap Magic and isopropyl alcohol. So bit of a mixture. Again, just looking on the internet, various people have all got their own preferred options, and I use sometimes a bit of a mixture of all of them, or one in particular. And the rear wagon, very similar to the front wagon, but again this time it's the final smooth side of the track rubber. Now I believe the track rubber is the Gauge Master track rubber, I'm not quite sure, but it's in effect white on one side, and on the other side it's obviously the thicker, the coarser grey one. Now, as you can imagine, this train is incredibly heavy, so you do need to have a substantial loco with good pulling power to be able to move that train around. For me, it's obviously the 37, the Accurascale 37, plenty of power and no issues at all. Now, it's never going to be as good as obviously cleaning the track by hand. However, this thing can get to places that your hand can't go to, or in effect, once I put all the lighting columns up and stuff like that, you risk the damaging those columns and things like sheds, and obviously going through the tunnel area when that gets fully developed, it's going to be difficult to be able to get through there by hand. It's not perfect, as I say, it's good. Run it maybe once or twice a week, just lightly, but to be honest with you, sometimes I've gone from a couple of weeks and I've never had any problems. And I think in combination with the wheel cleaning setup as well we've got here as well, it means that you're getting good rail electrical connection because you've got clean wheels, and obviously you've got a cleanish type of rail head. So hopefully that's been useful to you. In regards of costs, the two wagons were just old spare ones, and as you can see, I've just kit built those little shoes and all the bits that went with it. So they're like next to nothing. You can pick those up for next to nothing at shows, etc. The rubber itself, I can't remember, but again, not that much expense. The one thing that is expensive is the CMX wagon. I think I got that one on eBay around about £80. I think they sell at about 120, something like that. So it is quite expensive, but again, it's an investment now, especially if you've got layouts that have got a lot of subterranean, for example, layout track and stuff like that, or you've got lots of bridges, or you've got areas you just physically can't get to. You do need to clean that track as much as possible, because one thing happens if you don't clean areas of track, they build up all the dirt gets onto the wheels, and then you start getting bad connections, and then having to try and get your hand into certain those areas is quite difficult. So it is an investment if you've got the money to invest. Again, you can obviously look on eBay like I did and see if you can get one relatively cheap in compared to the RIP. But yeah, all in all, good little train. But again, as I say, you do need to have a powerful loco to pull it, because there is a considerable amount of weight there. Okay, so let's just go through the signalling, which we've been doing bits and pieces on over the last month. So this is the home signal on the downside at the Basingstoke end of the platform. When I first drilled the hole for this, I wasn't really sure of positioning, so I just drilled a hole. When obviously I did a lot of that investigation into the signals and worked out that it's approximately 22 mil from railhead to nearest point of the signal, I found that I needed to move this about 4 mil towards the downline, which is what I've done now. It looks an awful lot better, and really pleased how the outcome of that. The other thing as well, I'm not sure if it's completely prototypical, but I've put a couple of ground signals on a small bracket off the base of this signal. I was looking at potentially taking this signal out and putting one of the daypole junction signals in there to allow entry into the yard. But again, a bit cost prohibitive, as explained in the other video. So the dummy signals there, the two dummy signals, they're a West Hill Wagons product. And what I've also done is I've got a few of them there now. Don't know if you can notice them all in the line. Basically they're doubles, single open cast and BR type ones. So it's a bit of a mixture of dummy signals. All of them come from West Hill Wagon Works, all quite good. And as I said in the other video, I'm not going to put the signalling cables on yet until we're completely comfortable that we've finished all of those works. But again, this is what we'll do. Again, another West Hill Wagon Works product. Basically it's just centerfold cabling, pretty simple. Drop the posts in and then bring the wire up. So it's not actually functional wire, it's just prototypical. It just gives a bit of a sense of realism. And again, the same with the rodding, which there will be some rodding going on, but not a vast amount, because as I say, this will be a transition from mechanical signal to the more electrical signal. So there'll be location cabinets and REBs and stuff like that being constructed. So yeah, so obviously all the signals are now in position, happy with those. Like I say, explained these in a previous video with the junction signal there, and then you've got the distance signal there. The one thing, oh, sorry about the fingers. The one thing I'm going to do on the distance signal is, because obviously traffic going behind it, I will in effect put a backboard onto that one, which means it's a lot clearer for coming around that curve, and there's no confusion between that and the bridge. It's either that or painting the bridge, but I think a backboard will be better. It's just a little bit of a soundbite of the sheep. Again, in the other earlier shot when we were constructing that, I explained that we'll use that occasionally. But anyway, really hope you've enjoyed the May update. Lots of editing to be done now, which is actually quite enjoyable. Looking in regards to the June update, I'm still a bit undecided whether to attempt this station, get that done. One thing I do want to do is sort out this back scene. I think once I've got this back scene affixed to the wall with the actual back scene picture on there as well, I can then in effect sort all these scenes out, fill in the hole, and we've got a severe amount of trees and bushes to make as well. So a bit undecided. So what we'll do is just obviously look out for the updates that will be coming out. But again, thanks for tuning in. For all those who've subscribed, brilliant, that's really good. Really appreciate it. Obviously any comments, just chuck them in. I'll see what I can do in regards of answering them. As I say, hope you've enjoyed, and obviously if you haven't subscribed, please do. This is just a bit of fun for me, and obviously helping my son out with his GCSEs and stuff like that. So yeah, all good. Thank you very much. Bye bye.